Doug Kide here with Zach Cox. The 2021 NFL Draft has come and gone. The Patriots wound up with 5 players on day 3 of the draft. I'll just go through them real quick. Oklahoma running back Ramondre Stevenson, Michigan linebacker Cameron Magrone, Missouri safety Joshua Bledsoe, offensive tackle out of Colorado William Sherman, and UCF wide receiver Trey Nixon. So, Zach, I'll just toss this question off to you right away. Who's the most appealing player in this group to you?
I think it's Stevenson. I think he's the most interesting player in this group too, just because of the fact that the Patriots kind of deviated from their typical draft strategy in taking Stevenson. He's the second heaviest running back rather in this year's draft, and also the heaviest running back the Patriots have ever drafted under Bill Belichick. He's right around 6 feet, 231 pounds. His skill set is actually kind of interesting for somebody at that weight. He definitely has some LeGarrette Blount type tendencies to his game. He's really good at breaking tackles and kind of creating space for himself in the open field. But he was also a pretty capable pass catcher and solid in pass protection as well at Oklahoma. So this might be a guy that theoretically could have some sort of a 3-down role in the Patriots offense. Probably won't see that for a while, given how the Patriots typically handle their rookie running backs, but he was definitely the one that stood out most to me.
Yeah, he's kind of the bizarro JJ Taylor, where JJ Taylor is 5'5", 185 pounds and plays like a power back. Ramondre Stevenson is 6 feet, 230 pounds and sort of plays like a scat back with the way that he catches the ball out of the backfield and can make defenders miss. Also ran, I think it was the 4th fastest short shuttle by a running back out of the players who were listed on the Athletics consensus big board, which is interesting because otherwise he didn't test that well. But I thought that kind of showed on tape with the way that he was able to move. For me, I'm going to go with the next pick for the player who's the most appealing on this list, and that's Cameron Magrone. The big thing is, though, we might not actually see him until 2022 because he was a starting linebacker at Michigan, tore his ACL in November. So to expect him to be back on the field by training camp or preseason or even the start of the regular season, it's probably not going to happen. So at that point, he would probably start the year on the PUP list, physically unable to perform. And you're really talking about him being a player for the Patriots probably in 2022, if we're being completely realistic. But the Patriots don't really need that much help at linebacker until 2022, when Dante Hightower, Jawan Bentley, number of players will be hitting free agency. So in an ideal world for the Patriots, in an ideal world, he plays in 2021 and then steps up in 2022, but he really could take on a pretty massive role in 2022 if he impresses this season and his rehab and recovery and everything that he does behind the scenes.
Yeah, Bill Belichick sort of insinuated, or even beyond insinuated, he basically said that there is a very good chance that Magrone will not play this season, which makes sense. He did just tear his ACL in November, and that's a pretty lengthy recovery for a player at his position. And honestly, having that roster spot open with him on PUP and not having to worry about fitting him into the 53-man roster is not the worst case scenario there for the Patriots, certainly, as you mentioned, with the depth that they do have at linebacker right now.
Really taking more of a wide-eyed lens look at this Patriots 2021 draft class, it all seemed to be about value. They were able to get value on a lot of these players who were falling down draft boards for one reason or another. We didn't mention this earlier, but that running back, Ramondre Stevenson, and his Oklahoma teammate, Ronnie Perkins, both failed drug tests in 2019, had to miss 5 games in 2020. So if that hadn't happened, if they hadn't failed the drug test, or if they had been able to play those other 5 games, then they could have gone way up the draft board as well. Magrone, if he hadn't suffered the torn ACL, if he had played a full season, he might have been a higher pick, maybe a day 2 pick. So really, the Patriots played this pretty smart in an unusual draft class.
You can even go all the way down to Trey Nixon in the 7th round.
Yeah.
He was a player that was pretty productive at UCF for 2 seasons, broke his collarbone this past season, was only able to play in 4 games. He could have been, I don't think anybody projected him as an early round pick or anything like that, but he certainly could have been a player that could have played himself into the 3rd, 4th, 5th round if he had played a full season in 2020. So yeah, certainly a lot of value shopping for the Patriots on day 3 and really over the course of this entire draft.
Even William Sherman, we haven't touched on him. He's a guy who played tackle in college, and really the Patriots are probably one of the few teams who would actually view him as a tackle in the NFL, since they really don't seem to care that much about length. He's only 6'3", but keep it on Nest.com for all of our continued draft reactions. We will have film reviews. We will have reactions to all of the picks as we get into the week. Follow Zach on Twitter at Zach Cox Nesson, and follow me on Twitter at Doug Kide.